Fox News alert across the globe now to Iran. It is warning this morning that it will take a, quote, strong step away from the 2015 Iran nuclear deal. That's if, Iran says, Europe fails to offer new terms by the end of this week. It comes as top Iranian officials travel to France and Russia for last-minute talks. Joining us now, Dr. Rebecca Grant. She's a national security and military analyst and an international relations expert. Doctor, happy Labor Day. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning.
Good morning to you. What do you make of this?
Iran has threatened this before, but my take is they are really feeling the pressure and threatening to go beyond the deal. They've got a couple choices. They can get out of the big non-proliferation treaty, but much worse, they are now threatening to restart their big plutonium processing reactor. And Blake, this reactor was really at the center of the Iran deal, getting it shut down. Iran said they had poured cement into the key parts of the reactor. Then a couple months ago, the head of Iran's nuclear energy agency said that they had sneaked in a second set of reactor parts and could restart plutonium processing. Very bad.
What's the short-term goal, though, here? Is it that, or is it that the U.S. has applied so much pressure on Iran that it needs to get its oil out onto the open market for the rest of the world to buy? Is it that, or is it oil at this point?
Exactly. It's that short-term piece. Month 5 of the crisis, Iran has been trying to split the U.S. from Britain, France, and Germany. But now they are so desperate due to the sanctions pressure that they need a mechanism to sell oil. And the question is this the quid pro quo for coming to the table for talks? And would the U.S. and other countries be willing to give them basically a short-term letter of credit backed up by the oil to carry them through and get them to the table?
Reuters says that Iranian officials want to export a minimum of 700,000 barrels a day, all the way up to 1.5 million barrels a day. Is that what it would take to essentially get Iran back to the negotiating table, talking to the U.S.?
Yeah, they would love to get that export going, and Britain, France, and Germany set up a little trade mechanism to use for food and medicine. Iran now wants to use that Instex mechanism to sell oil as well. I think the allies might agree to a small sale if there's an ironclad guarantee that Rouhani will come and talk, like Macron.
But would the U.S. agree to that, though? Because the president and his team would have to agree to that, right?
Very intriguing, and Trump, coming out of the G7, said he might agree to a very narrow short-term letter of credit done by multiple nations. So, but only if it's going to bring them to the table and get to what he wants. No nukes, missile agreements, and a much longer timeline. What
would getting to the table look like? Because you've got Javad Zarif today traveling. You've got other Iranian officials traveling. When you talk about getting it to the table, is it a Zarif-Pompeo kind of meeting, or is it President Trump and Hassan Rouhani type of meeting?
It could be all of the above, and the travel is key, Blake, because they're off talking to Moscow. Russia and China are in this deal. They haven't been much help. They're really egging Iran on. So it would be a talk probably ultimately at the Rouhani level to say that they're willing to consider what Macron and Trump and the other European allies want, which is no nuclear weapons for Iran, no flare-ups, to use Macron's term, and then getting a treaty limit on Iran's ballistic missiles, like the one they tried and failed to test last week. So that's what it's going to look like.
You know, I'm glad you bring up Emmanuel Macron, the French president. We saw what happened at the G7 when he suddenly invited the Iranian foreign minister to France for the G7. He has hinted in the past at wanting to try to be sort of a power broker here. The president before the G7 warned Macron, don't necessarily speak on behalf of the U.S., but then there was that meeting right there. What do you make of what Macron's doing, briefly?
Macron really is trying, and he was pretty skeptical about parts of the Iran deal. So I think Trump is letting Macron try it, but really it comes down to whether Rouhani is willing to talk or not, whether he comes himself or sends an emissary. Iran's got to agree, and it's all about keeping the economic pressure tight enough to make Iran agree to come to the table.
And as the president says, he believes sanctions are working. Dr. Rebecca Grant, got to leave it there. Thank you so much. Enjoy your Labor Day.
Thank you.
Sandra.